use of your hands on your leash. So you're going to attach leash to waist. Okay. And once you start working, you can't touch it.
Ooh.
So one way that
That'll
this
be
can
interesting.
helpful, yeah. Earlier when I watched kind of Joy change position and have to stop in the middle in one of the earlier rounds, that's one way where it gets a little harder to do that when you can't be rolling up a leash, lifting over things, moving. So you got to think more carefully about when and why and how you want to move. And then with the Dobe, this is something that I've seen in a lot of them.
Okay.
Is because they are sensitive, when you handle a leash with your
Yeah.
hands, there's a ton of sensitivity involved in that because you can squeeze it, you
Yes.
can pull on it, you can twist, you can do all sorts of things. When it's attached by your waist, it's pretty black and white, and they may test it once to find the distance. I've done upwards of like 500 or 600 dogs in this, no one's ever been pulled over. So,
Okay, good. I'm like, I'm more worried about being cut in half by
yeah,
it.
I just did it with like a bunch of drivey labs and a Dobe in
Okay.
Wisconsin, and a few people were like, I'm gonna die! And I'm like, you might. I'm sure there's someone out there who I'm gonna have to use my insurance on. But so far, no one's
Nobody's
been pulled.
died?
Even outdoors, where the
Okay.
dog has lots of room to run.
Okay.
So you might get the test once, because they need to find out what the limitation is when they don't know.
Okay.
But then typically you lose some of the over-arousal
Okay.
because it's very black and white. They find their limitation, you're no longer engaging in a lot of gray back and forth, and it can sometimes change their overall attitude.
Okay.
I say sometimes, nothing's certainty, but we'll give it a try.
So,
Yeah.
what length of leash are we using here?
Well, I think I'm going to run this for just these two.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll pick, because I'm going to try to hone in on things that
Oh,
I think
that we
I
need.
saw.
Okay.
And pick some things that are a little more specific to what I saw for each team. So these two have stood out a little more to me.
Go for it.
But basically, leash length does matter. If you use a leash length that's too short, the moment your dog may go somewhere you can't, you have no leverage, right?
Yeah.
You're
Right.
just done for. If you use one that's too long, you may feel like it gets caught up in their legs, or you can't, keep far enough away from them to keep it slack. So usually something in the 6 to 8 foot range is pretty safe. Anything shorter than 6 gets you into trouble if your dog goes somewhere you can't.
Yeah.
But anything longer than that is kind of a problem too. So I think just to keep this round interesting for us to observe, we'll stay with this area, but we're just gonna open the area up a little more. That way it's got some open space, but it's also got some variety to it in terms of places a dog could go easily and we get to see a little bit more. Because guess what? Just because you can't use your hands, you by no means are, forced to deal with anything and everything they do. We talked about how backing up is a good message to a dog. We use that to kind of move a dog through a search area last time. You still have all sorts of tools at your use. You have voice, you have any number of things you can think of to communicate. And remember what we said at the beginning of the day, that most learners are better off if they're having to kind of learn at the same time using different pathways.
Yep.
So once you now have your hands taken away, you have to be on some other path, right?
Right.
So that increases the likelihood that going forward, you and your dog have a better communication. So all sorts of reasons that,
I'm gonna watch him
this could work
with
out
interest.
for
Did you get the video of the other one? That other video was there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, you can leave your camera there.
Nope, you're good. As long as I can find a place to put it, I'm good.
Realize it was there.
Nope.
Are you gonna, you're
I'm gonna,
set that one?
no, I'm gonna have you tape both, because this should be entertaining.
Sometimes it's
I suppose it is.
works really well with people who have German Shepherds. German Shepherds, a lot of them are really sensitive to how much leash length they have. It's a little different than Dobermans. And some people are so good with the leash that the dog never knows what's going on. and they'll spend half their time testing that and not searching.
Drag me around.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
She's not sensitive.
Crushy's kind of sensitive.
Yeah, I can think on that leash all day long. It's like, I am busy.
I have things to do. Buzz off. Okay, so now where's the height?
I think
On the
that was
chair
the
there.
chair that.
Yeah, I use that chair.
Okay.
Oh, he took the one off of that.
So the white one in the center?
Take this one away.
I don't think he has one
Use a few
on there
cones
yet,
here.
so one of these chairs has it. Is
That chair.
Oh, it's on
Get this
the
one at the top of these cones. Then I'm going to grab one more. And I'm going to place where we ended up with all our chairs.
How many hides are there?
So it'll be 3 total. The
Oh,
chair that's
okay.
folded up against the crates,
Okay.
some cones at the end of the blue barriers, and then there'll be one more.
Oh, so it's that
One
far
more down
chair.
by all those,
I think he said it's the
It's
one.
the one that's folded up, leaning against.
yeah, that one.
Oh,
Yep.
folded. Oh,
Folded,
got it.
yeah.
Okay.
Right next to the blanket type thing.
I see that
Yeah.
now. And he said he's gonna put one more out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be one more.
You're carrying the chair.
Is that the right time? Is that fine?
Yeah. I am 4:59.
Yeah.
Well, I meant,
The
yeah, the
kitchen
one in the
clock
other
is
one
wrong.
was
The
an
kitchen
hour
clock is
down,
wrong.
I
so,
know,
yeah.
I looked and I'm like, oh my god, the time is flying. Wait a minute.
And you know, we're kind of throwing some chairs around and cones and the kind of stuff that's probably used a bajillion times in Nosework, but you know, that's another thing I think we have to remember is use your practice sessions to increase the relationship to the dog, your understanding of them, all of that kind of stuff. And mess around with your hide placements on strange objects and strange places when you are very confident
There it goes.
about what's going on with your basic stuff. We got there, and here.
Yeah, socks. The hides last year tonight.
Oh, did you?
And she's really into the thievery mode right now. She steals my socks, my underwear, and my shoes constantly. She's like,
I can
and
steal
she grabbed one and then she smacked another.
Got it,
No.
Sam?
No, it died.
There's a sock that smells.
It was figured it out. And she was like, no, it was the furious right now. It was really fun to watch.
Crap, I walked in
Cameras
front
at
of
the
them.
top there.
Or her.
No, it's not. Oh, there, good.
It's funny,
Hang on, I
with
gotta get
some
the
of
video.
the shoe hides we
Okay,
did a
go.
few summers back. You get the sock hides, and then pretty soon you can find the
Way past my
the
bedtime.
hides on humans wearing socks and shoes. So looking good here. Super nice change of behavior. So one thing you run the risk of when you're running like this is crowding your dog. You can't just roll up the leash and walk close to them, right? So you have to stay a certain distance back. Looking good in terms of the 2 hides that are on that end. One is sitting just behind the barriers and one is accessible. Excellent, excellent. So one thing we get a benefit of here that doesn't have to do with the dog's experience of black and white communication is we get a benefit of learning that, hey, leash handling is good, it's a skill that you want to practice, but leash handling shouldn't come at the cost of other important things.
Yeah.
Because this dog hasn't cared at all that the leash is dragging on the ground or touches her legs. She doesn't care.
Is it in the top of the cones or?
Top of the cones. Yep. And the barriers are blocking it a little. But it's another version of access, right?
Right.
Having that challenge of access. Real nice use of backing away. It's very nice. Nice changes of behavior.
Already found that one.
Fantastic working behavior here.
Alert.
Nice. She was kind of licking and
Yes.
chewing on the cone there.
They're so smart.
So real nice work. So just from watching this round, what I notice is the limitations now for the handler are being kind of exposed by the dog too. Luna's kind of watching her now, going, "You're not as like free flowing, and you're not doing some of the things you might usually do, right?" And this is part of that new path of learning. Is you start to play in a way that's not normal, and you'll open up a new path of learning, right?
It'll work. There's another one. You
And
can
so
find it.
that interaction probably has to do a little bit with what we know about where the hide is, where our expectation lies for where the dog should be.
Hello?
Nice job. Well
Good
done.
girl.
Because what we know from our earlier round is that most of that airflow moves towards the crating wall, right? So that chair leaned up against the crates. A lot of dogs don't like that because then they can't go past those crates and follow that odor.
Oh, okay.
So it can be challenging for them, and so they'll want to go left to right along the faces of the crates, seeing if at any point they could get